I'm Kate,
And I'm Jamie, and this is Creeps and Coffee.
a show where we talk about the creepiest crime cases around the world
So, let's grab some coffee.
and have a chat. Hello, everyone.
Hola.
Happy Halloween.
Oh my god, happy Halloween!
I'm so excited.
I feel like we should be in costumes.
Well, I'm
Too late.
I'm dressed as you.
I'm
I picked out that shirt, so
I'm dressed as an Italian person.
there you go. There's our costumes.
Then.
Boom. Boom.
Woo.
I'm so happy that it's Halloween. I also can't believe that it's Halloween.
October has gone by so quickly for me.
2021 has gone by so quickly.
True, it's almost 20...
I could throw up. But you know what?
I'm still processing 2020.
I'm still processing 2015, so...
Oh.
Got
a little bit of catching up to do.
Anyway, there's not a lot of housekeeping stuff tonight. I think we just kind of want to jump right into it. I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah, we kind of I think we just want to get into the spooky, because you have some longer stuff.
I do.
Right?
Yeah, so the plan for today,
that'll take time.
tonight, this afternoon, this morning, whenever you're listening, wherever you are
Now.
in the world, the plan for now is we're going to delve into some creepypastas. You know what? I've never really read any. Like, I knew, like, the Slender Man one. Obviously, we talked about that last week. I knew, like, what's his name? Robert the Doll, Jeff the Killer, like,
Okay.
those, like...
I will say that I've never actually read any, but I have listened to people on YouTube, like, read them. Like, I listened to Corpse Husband. He used to do some creepypastas, some Reddit stories, and, like, narrate them. So now for this one, I had to use my eyeballs.
The only person I've ever listened to reading creepypastas was Jenna and Julian.
Oh, yeah. It was on their podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I really liked that episode. I wish they'd done more.
But I think that's kind of what inspired us to do an episode like this, is to just have, like, a casual conversation, but still try to freak each other out.
Absolutely. And we didn't tell each other anything about these stories,
No.
so they're gonna surprise us, and you'll get our raw reactions.
I think that's what I'm excited for. Jamie always picks fucked up stuff. Always. So I'm like...
These ones are not bad.
Okay, that's what you said about the monsters around the world. And you were like, yeah, you can look at the Italian monster. I'll look at the titty monster. And the flying head.
I tried to keep it tame on that one, too. I have so many ideas. I've learned I have a dark brain. I have a dark soul.
Just discovered this.
I discovered it last year in quarantine.
Fair.
And I was like, oh, my soul is...
I am... Well, I guess I'm not really that different. I started the podcast with you, so...
I feel like you're more middle ground.
Yes.
Like, you're not, like, angelic, angel, innocent little Caitlin.
As some people would say, I'm not the angel everybody thinks I am.
Yeah. But then at the same time, you're also not like, let's listen to Screamo and
No.
get baseball bats and smash windows.
No, I'm more like, let's date the baseball player.
Yeah.
I'm excited, though. I think these stories are going to be good. I really like the ones that I chose. So I did 3. James did 4.
I did 4 relatively short ones because I'm not good at speaking or, like, following a script. I'd like to think, because I'm not good at, like, breath control and stuff. I just want to read it and get it all over with. So I'm like, but that's not good storytelling.
No, not ideal. Especially for people listening mostly to voices.
Exactly. I think it's getting better, though, with working at the escape room, because I have to read off, like, a script, like, you are now entering blah blah's tomb. You are explorers at the blah blah blah. And
I love that.
It sounds so fake, but yeah.
It is what it is.
I'm getting paid, so.
Exactly.
I'm going to go first. And mine is a very, very short one. It's like literally 3 sentences. It's like a warm-up. It's like an appetizer for all of Caitlin's good ones.
Well, I'd say the only thing left to say is, folks, sit back, relax, and get ready to get spooked.
And happy Halloween!
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this one is done by... It was a comment on a different story that I didn't want to read because it was too long. But somebody commented in response, someone named Reaper SC. It just said, "This story reminds me of a local legend about a guy who wrecked his car and then drowned. Supposedly, if you light a lighter and tell him that it's his, you can hear him running through the water towards you. I always found that unsettling." And that's it. That's the end of that. But I was thinking about it, and I'm like, how creepy would that be? To be in the dark, like with only a lighter, and just hearing someone running towards you in the water.
That makes me feel physically ill.
Like, that's something from a scary movie. I hate it.
Here's some insight on me. I hate the water, terrified of it, and I hate the dark. So the thought of being in the dark and hearing someone running through the water makes me want to die.
Right? And it reminds me, honestly, of something like from Insidious, where, like, you hear, like, footsteps running towards you, and then there's just, like, nothing at the end, and it's almost like, it's like a jump scare without the jump.
You're, like, waiting for the jump scare to happen.
Yeah.
And that's worse. The jump scare without the jump.
Worse.
Yes. Because, like, you have that build-up, and you don't get... I was going to make a sex joke.
Yeah, I was like, where's she going with this?
Sorry, Tammy.
It's just creepy.
I hate so much about that.
So that was my really short one. The rest are longer than that one, so they're better, I promise.
Well, the thought of running and the sound of running footsteps ties nicely into the story that I have.
Ooh.
So the first story that we're going to delve into, it's called The Back Rooms.
Oh, so... that just
and
sounds
that's
creepy.
It. We're done. Mission accomplished. Thanks for listening.
That's scary.
So I can't find the author of this post, but it was from a board on 4chan. Here we go. It was approximately 12:15 when I entered the Johnson County Community Health Clinic. I was there for an appointment I had set up weeks ago, just a routine checkup. It wasn't a new place for me. I had been there a couple of times before. However, the place had an odd nostalgic feel to it, as if it were a location from my childhood or something, and I could never pinpoint exactly what this feeling was or where it came from. As I walked in, an overwhelming feeling of déjà vu swept over me. The hum of the flickering fluorescent lights, the white tile flooring, the muted beige paint that covered the walls. I noticed that there was a TV mounted in the corner, a smaller flat screen that was playing a short PowerPoint slideshow on loop of ads and events that were being held by the clinic. I passed the empty waiting area, a small area of the main room with magazines, children's playthings, and blue cushioned chairs, and approached the woman at the front desk. She was sitting in her bluish-gray office chair, looking at a spreadsheet on the same Windows XP desktop they've had since 2008. There was a sign-in sheet on the counter in front of me. "I have an appointment with Dr. Pebbins?" I asked. "What time?" 12:30, I replied. She began typing something into her keyboard. "Ah, yes," she responded. "Gary Johnston?" "Mm-hmm." "Yes, I'll tell the doctor. Please fill this out." She handed me a clipboard which held a simple fill-out form. I walked back to the waiting area, took a seat, and began to fill out the form. I was about halfway done with filling in my information when I slumped back in my chair. I hadn't gotten much sleep the night prior, and I was exhausted. As I slumped back, I noticed something very peculiar. My head never hit the wall. In fact, it felt like it went in. I got up quite frightened and looked at the wall. Nothing. Not a single hole or dent had been made in the wall by my head. So I reached to touch the wall, and my fingers went through it. I recoiled in shock. What the hell was that? I thought, as I reached to touch the wall again, only to find my fingers clipped through once more. Then, suddenly, I lost my balance, tripped, and fell directly through the wall. I fell face first onto some dirty tan carpeting. Upon getting back up, I realized that I was in a completely different room. Well, not really a room per se, more so a set of rooms, all of which connected by openings. The walls were covered in gross tan-patterned wallpaper. There was also an overwhelming stench of moist carpet. I turned back around and tried to put my hand back through the wall, and it wouldn't go through. Okay, what the fuck? I muttered. I looked back into the room. There were no windows, no doors, nothing on the walls, other than that disgusting wallpaper. It was completely empty, aside from a singular plastic blue school chair. At this point, the only thing going through my mind was fear and the repeating thought of, I need to leave, on a loop in my head. I started running through the rooms, desperately trying to find an exit, but to no avail. There was no exit. Was this my permanent location until I died? No, there had to be a way out. I wasn't just going to be left here, right? Eventually someone would notice that I was gone. But nobody did. Then, in the distance, I heard footsteps. But not those of humans. At least, not a normal human. Alongside the footsteps was a gurgling snarl, like that of an angry animal. I began to run. I ran as fast as I could from whatever the hell was approaching me. I didn't want anything to do with it. I ran for what seemed like forever, but I was always back in the same room I started in. At least it looked like the same room. Not that I could tell them apart. So I sat down, defeated. A feeling of dread filled my body as I started to cry. I was going to die here. I'm still there. I haven't left. I've accepted my fate. In fact, I can actually hear the footsteps. I wonder who that is. The end.
Huh. I dislike that.
Yeah?
Is there... That reminds me, there's, like, a video game like that, where you're, like, in a maze of hallways that all look the exact same, and you're trying to escape because there's somebody who's chasing you. And I don't like it at all. And also, I didn't like how, like, eerily familiar the beginning was, like, with the description of the rooms and stuff, because I'm like, I feel like I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that feels like a nostalgic creepy, like...
Yeah.
Like, what are those called? Liminal spaces?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. We could do a whole episode on those.
Oh,
Those are
absolutely
scary.
we could.
Oh, see, I don't like...
I thought that one was pretty good.
I wonder what was making the steps.
I don't want to know.
Maybe it's even creepier that you don't know.
I think so, and I think that's what I like about it, is that it's all up to the imagination. Kind of like we were talking about with the, like, running and not, like, having any jump scare. It's like running without having any actual knowledge on what's coming at you.
And I have a strong imagination, so that's not good.
Yes, you really do.
Yes, I can hear a noise. It's just like a pen dropping, and I can convince myself that there is a murderer in my house. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'd give that a 7 out of 8 spooky candy corns.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, I didn't rank yours. Fuck. I give it...
Give me candy corns.
Are we doing a candy corn ranking system?
Yeah.
I give it a 6.5 candy corns.
I'm surprised you didn't give it a 3.
I think it's because of the water. It got me quite
I'll
good.
take it.
Could have been longer, could have been more detailed, but I think the lack of detail added to the effect.
I knew my audience.
Exactly. So 6.5 candy corns for the first one. What'd you say, 7 out of 8?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it.
I don't know why I chose 8.
I'll take
We could
it.
choose out of 10, but...
Nah. Why would we do that? When have we ever used a normal ranking system?
True. Out of 2.5, I give it a 1.79.
Yeah. It makes sense. That's
Nice, yeah. All right, is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll do actually my longest one now because
Ooh.
I personally found it was actually the least scary.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know if it's true, but it was put under the true crime slash like real creepypasta.
Oh, perfect.
However, I reworded it because this is why I thought it was like believable. It just sounded like someone was typing an email or a text to a friend to explain the situation. It doesn't feel like a story that was thought out and planned.
Right, like it just feels
So
like a
I'm
train
like-
of thought almost.
Yeah, so I had to change the like structure to make it make sense, but that's also why I was like, I kind of believe this person. Like, this is scary.
I'm already nervous.
All right, yeah. So this one is by Sauron21327. Currently live in a rental house in Houston, Texas. I am single and live alone. I've lived in my house for 6 years, and something crazy happened recently in my home. I didn't know the history of the rental before moving in, but something sinister happened 10 years ago, so say the police. Red flag number 1.
Exactly.
Every night at 1 a.m., I would hear really loud drum sounds coming from underneath my house. Red flag number 2. I would always wake up and check my clock, and it was always at 1 a.m. The drums would stop every 2 minutes, and then I would hear footsteps and chanting, followed by awful screams. See, I wouldn't stick around to find out what that was.
No.
After everything stopped, it was like it never happened. And this happened a couple times, apparently. Like, a couple times in a row. And so I've had enough of this and called the cops, finally. It turns out I had a basement I didn't know about. Red flag number 3.
No.
And a secret cult was living and hiding under there. Turns out there was 8 of them in total, and they were all arrested for breaking and entering. The police found out that they lived there 10 years ago, and they killed the people who lived there before her.
No.
I still live there now, but I'm planning to leave. I'll give updates if anything happens. The incident happened 2 weeks ago. Stay safe. And that was the last update, so I'm like, dude, are you alive?
I don't like that. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
We've talked about cults. We talked about the Freemasons. Hey guys.
Mm-hmm.
Cults are so unsettling to me. Secrets.
Especially when they're in your basement.
Well, yeah, that adds a new level to it for sure. That also, here's a weird fear of mine. I'm really opening up.
You let it out.
All those stories of people that have people living in their house or like living in their attic, I think they're called setters, live in your house without you knowing.
Oh, squatters?
Squatters. Fuck me.
Sitters? I was like, babysitters?
I don't know. That's a huge fear of mine because I'm more afraid of people than anything supernatural. That's not to say to any supernatural being that's listening that I want anything to do with you. I just don't like interactions with things or people.
Agreed. And it's like, it's one thing if you're in an apartment building and you hear drums and yelling because it's like, all right, you're having a good Friday night. But it's a completely other thing when you live alone in a house and you're hearing noise from a place you didn't know. Like, she didn't even know she had a basement. So it's like, that would be scary.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be living there anymore.
No.
I don't know how completely true it is, but I believe it, and if that's real, that's really freaky.
I think that's the worst part, is like, it could be real. It's one of those stories where you're like, yeah, it's not the most unrealistic thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
It's like one of those found footage movies. So, that was my longest one, believe it or not.
Oh my god. Strap in, folks. Because we're going to talk about a lady named Anora Petrova now.
I'll put on my seatbelt. Click.
So I got this story from a Twitter page. Twitter user One Page Wonder got this from the Wayback Machine. I love that website.
I've never heard of it.
They like archive everything on the internet pretty much, and you can like put in a date and like look at old websites and stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's really cool. But this is a story called Anora Petrova. It is written as if it's an email.
Ooh.
So it's old. You know, one of my students gave me shit for using email. He was like, who sends emails anymore? I was like, oh my god.
Lots of people.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I digress. So the subject of this email is Bree. Please read this. All caps. Bree, don't delete this. I know you hate me, but we were best friends once, and I need you to read this. I think I'm in serious trouble, and there's nothing you can do, but I need you to read this so you understand. I know we haven't talked since sectionals. It's been forever, but what happened to you wasn't my fault. At least, it wasn't entirely my fault. I know everyone thinks it was, but I would never do anything to hurt you. This is going to sound crazy, but I need to tell you this so that someone knows. It started when we were in the 8th grade. It was the night before the Crystal Classic competition. I was at home and I couldn't sleep because I was so nervous about competing. Well, I got on the computer, just sort of surfing the web and stuff, but I couldn't concentrate on anything. I was just sitting there, so I Googled myself. I never should have done that, Bree. At first, it was all the usual stuff you find when you Google yourself. Then I found a link to a Wikipedia page about me. I thought our club or my dad made it or something. There wasn't much there, just some basic facts about skating, what city I lived in. But the thing that got me was that it said I won that year's Crystal Classic. I laughed. I thought for sure someone just did it to encourage me. I confronted my dad about it, but he denied it. When I won the competition the next day, I was so happy. That was the first competition I had ever won, and it felt so good. Remember how hard I worked after that? That's when my parents hired Sergey to coach me. You know how much that must have cost. After that, I would check my page before every competition, and it would always tell the result of how I placed. It said I would win the regionals at 15, and it all came true. After that, Sergey convinced my mom and dad that I had a real shot at the Olympics, and that's when they pulled me from school. I skated every day, but I just wasn't progressing the way Sergey said I needed to if I wanted a shot at the championship. I was working so hard, and I was skating well, but still Sergey said it wasn't good enough. When the sectionals came, all I could think about was winning. So I did something I shouldn't have. Everyone was saying that you were the favorite, and I felt like I had already lost the competition, so I made a Wikipedia account and tried to update my page to say that I was the winner. The thing is that after I tried to update the page, I checked it, and all it said was, Anora Petrova is a selfish little bitch who's going to get what she deserves. I broke down. That's why I looked so awful the next day. I was in a daze. I remember watching your routine and seeing your blade snap, and the next thing I know, I was on the ground, and my face was covered in blood from where the tip flew off and sliced my forehead. Then they told me it was my fault because I had your skates in my possession earlier. Bree, I honestly didn't do anything to your skates. I wanted to win, but I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. When they told me I was banned from any further competitions, everyone said that I got what I deserved. Nobody even asked for my side of the story. I guess you heard that Sergei dropped me after that. He said I ruined him. No one would talk to me. Do you know what it's like to be ostracized by everyone? I couldn't even get ice time. And then the page got worse. Anytime I'd check it, it would say all these horrible things about me. I can't even tell you half of them. The language was so vile. I'd cry every time I read it, but I couldn't stop checking it. I knew I had to do something, so I made a complaint to Wikipedia. I even tried calling them, but no one there claimed to know anything about the page. I was home alone that Friday night, and I decided to check it to see if it had been taken down. The page was still there, only this time it said, Anora Petrova is a pathetic little orphan. I freaked. I kept calling my parents to warn them, but every time I'd call, all I would hear was this horrible laughter on the other end. I must have called them 100 times until I couldn't take the sound of the laughing anymore. After the accident, the police gave me their phones, and there wasn't any record of my calls that night. I was so devastated. Before that, I was so busy training all day and doing homeschool, I never realized just how alone I had been the whole time. I know you tried to reach out, but I was so depressed and angry, I just shut everything out. Once I turned 18 and got the settlement money from the court, I came to Switzerland. I got to reinvent myself. My skating really took off. It hasn't even been a year, and I feel like everything that happened was so long ago. That's why I shouldn't have done it, Brie. I'm writing you now from an old hotel outside of Prague. I'm auditioning for the ice circus tomorrow. I know it's the kind of thing we used to make fun of, but I really want this. I was feeling really nervous, and out of an old habit, I checked my page. It's so hard to say this, but when I checked the page to see if I'd get the job tomorrow, all it says is, Anora Petrova died friendless and alone, and it has today's date listed as the date of my death. I'm sobbing so hard I can barely type this, but I wanted you to know the truth. Please believe me, Brie. I attached a screenshot of the page so you'll believe me. It's all there, just as I told you. I don't know what to do. I don't know anyone here, and nobody speaks English. I keep refreshing the page. God, it's been forever. I keep refreshing, but it still hasn't changed. I'm waiting for midnight. I don't know what to do, so I locked myself in my room. There's only a few minutes to midnight now. All I can do is refresh the page. I'm exhausted, but I can't stop. I'm afraid to leave the computer until I know what happens next.
That's it?
That's it, bitch.
Oh my god.
Did you enjoy the dramatic reading?
Yeah, your acting skills came out there. Meanwhile, I'm here like, there's a cult. And you're like, in 1967, a ghost, blah, blah, blah. That was good. I was prepared to completely zone out and be bored, but it captured my attention.
I'll take it.
Yeah, that would be unnerving. As someone who's Googled herself before,
I Google myself all the time.
It's weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I like to Google, though? I like Googling creeps and coffee, because then you see our picture, our logo, like
it's
the link
exciting.
to our website, and I'm like, ah!
As long as there's no fucking Wikipedia pages about us, I think we're good.
Do we have a Wikipedia?
Don't look!
We have Spotify, Listen Notes, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, and that's it.
Thank God.
We're in the clear for now.
Oh, Jesus.
I wouldn't click it if we did have one, just...
I don't know if I believe that.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good. At first I was like, is this like I, Tanya?
Right? I was like, ugh.
But
She sabotaged. And then I was like, oh, no, she didn't. No, she got hit in the forehead.
I like it. Let's give it a...
Fuck, I didn't rate yours. Oh my God.
Oh. I'll give it a 6.9 out of 8 candy corns. 69.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think of the cult?
The cult, I give...
Give it a 5. It's okay. I don't mind.
I'm thinking like a 5.6. So we could round it up to a 6.
I'm going to give it a 4. I was like, well, that was rude.
No, I'll do a 5.6 out of 8 candy corns.
Thank you.
Because it could be rounded up to 6 if we're doing whole numbers. Like I'm almost to a 6.
Yeah.
But not quite there. You know what I mean? And you gave me a 69. So.
Yeah. If you don't get that reference, you're probably my parents.
Thank God.
And I will not be explaining it.
Oh, they get it.
If not, go check Urban Dictionary. I don't know which one I want to do next. I feel like there's one that's good, but I feel like it's more common.
Okay.
So I'm like, do I do...
Do that one first and then go out with a bang.
Okay, so this one's called The Portraits.
Ooh.
By Eat Books. Do you know it?
No.
The portrait story? Okay. Okay, gotta channel my inner Caitlin then. There was a hunter in the woods who, after a long day of hunting, it was getting dark, and having lost his bearings, he decided to head in one direction until he was clear of the increasingly oppressive foliage. After what seemed like hours, he came across a cabin in a small clearing. Realizing how dark it had grown, he decided to see if he could stay there for the night. He approached and went to knock on the door, but found it ajar. Nobody was inside. The hunter flopped down on the single bed, deciding to explain himself to the owner in the morning. As he looked around the inside of the cabin, he was surprised to see the walls adorned by several portraits, all painted in incredible detail. Without exception, they appeared to be staring down at him, their features twisted into looks of hatred and malice. Staring back, he grew increasingly uncomfortable. Making a concerted effort to ignore the many hateful faces, he turned to face the wall, and exhausted, he fell into a restless sleep. The next morning, the hunter awoke. He turned, blinking in unexpected sunlight. Looking up, he discovered that the cabin had no portraits, only windows. Yeah!
Oh, I don't like that at all.
Right?
Oh, I give
so
that
it's
a
kind of
negative
like
6.
It's like, okay, where's this going? Creepy ghost portraits? And then it's like, no, just people staring at you through the windows? Like, so many questions. Who was it? What were they doing? Why?
It's probably the basement
Was it
cult.
the secret cult?
Oh.
It's the only logical explanation.
Oh, I hate it. That's what I mean. I don't like people.
Right? It's like, did they live there? What were they doing? And I don't think that one's, like, a true one, but I feel like I'd heard this before, like, growing up, and, yeah, I thought it was creepy.
Oh, y'all want to hear a creepy story about growing up? Jamie had this fucking baby doll. Named
Baby
Gloria. The scariest shit I have ever seen in my life. And it used to stare at me like those portraits. And every time I went over, we were like, what? How old were we? Like 7, 8?
Yeah.
It used to stare at me, and she would purposely put it on the shelf every time I came over.
It was just smiling. It was
It
cute.
was a demon.
I think we still have it somewhere.
Oh, if you
I'm going to bring
here,
it with me when we're
burning
roommates.
it. I'm burning it. That probably won't do
childhood
anything.
toy.
She'll probably be fine.
Like Annabelle.
15 years I've been scared of this doll. There's no end in sight. No, Jesus.
It's good to know.
No, Gloria. Also, I'm sorry. I'm going to shit on you a little bit. What 8-year-old is like, yeah, I'm going to name this doll Gloria?
I honestly don't know. I don't know why I said that or
It's
where I got that
because the demon
name.
had a name already, and you knew.
This is Beelzebub. Why'd you name your doll that? because it told me its name was Beelzebub.
When it woke
And then
me
its
up
head
at 3
spun.
a.m.
I mean, to be fair, I think, I can't remember who it was, but a family friend's kid had a home ec assignment where he needed to, like, look after a fake baby. So he borrowed baby Gloria from me for, like, a weekend. And he said he put it on a shelf, like, when he went to sleep. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but he, like, woke up. And he, too, thought it was staring at him, and he got so scared.
Because she's a demon, Jamie.
He had to hide it. I was like, that's failing an assignment.
Do you know how many times I put that doll in different closets around your house? And every time you were like, I found Gloria in a weird spot. And I was like, damn it.
You should have just put her in the trash.
I thought about it.
Okay, well, you're creepy. I don't throw you in the garbage.
Wow. Wow.
Just kidding, love you.
Yeah, okay. Just because you write doesn't mean
Do you
have
have
to
one
say
left?
it. I have one left. I'm excited about this one. It's like a decently long.
My final one is, like, relatively short. By that I mean it's 7 sentences.
Oh my god. This one.
So make it good.
Okay. So my last creepypasta for the night is called Persuaded.
And you were going to completely carry this episode.
Absolutely I am. This story is credited to Chris Stewart.
Kristen Stewart? I love her.
I'm gonna kill you. Okay. This is Persuaded.
Do we get any context or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
Jumping right in. Going in raw.
Da-da-da. Whoa.
Sorry.
Ew.
Sorry, I'm in a mood today.
All right.
I'm thinking of Tom Hiddleston for a while, so it's...
Honestly, I understand.
Persuaded. It's been 2 weeks since this whole thing started. It all started with a tanker accident. It was all over the news. Everyone thought it was just another oil spill. There were plenty of volunteers, plenty of people wanting to help the poor, defenseless animals, plenty of victims. Within hours of the tanker accident, it started happening. The animals had gone crazy. They were scratching and biting the cleanup volunteers. They said that it was an adverse effect to whatever was in the tanker. Rescue workers were still trying to get to the crew to get them out of the ship. They could hear screaming inside, screams to open the doors, but that's when it all went to hell, as soon as they cut the door out. There was 6 minutes of broadcast before it went silent. 6 minutes of screaming and agony. The ship crew attacked the rescue workers like rabid baboons, breaking bones, tearing flesh. The people on the shore weren't faring any better. Those that had been
Zombies.
Those that had...
Zombies.
Yeah.
Sorry, zombie. Zombie? Sorry. Zombie? Sorry.
Fuck. Those that had been attacked by animals were attacking everyone else. It was worse than any war zone report. It was sheer brutality, and yet the broadcast still went on for 6 minutes. 6 minutes and then blank faces. Nobody could explain what was happening. They tried to continue with regular news, the economy, the weather, a cute human interest story, but they couldn't make us unsee what we saw. I tried to continue with my regular existence, but every time I switched on the news or walked by a newsstand, it was there. This big mystery. They had some explanations, some kind of infection, brain parasites, but it didn't matter. It wasn't an infection we were afraid of. It was them. 4 days after the initial report, a state of emergency was raised. And yet, we'd all seen this before. Every zombie movie ever. People didn't know who to trust. People were stockpiling food and weapons. Some tried to flee, but it seems like every zombie movie was right. They didn't make it. 3 days later, they arrived in my town. I expected moans, shuffling corpses, dismemberment, but that's where the movies lied. They ran through the streets, screaming. I remember running to my front door as fast as I could, locking, barricading, doing anything to make sure it would stay shut, and then I headed for the window. I was on the second story, and I could see the carnage. They were unstoppable. They were aware. A group of them made their way through a building across the street. They jumped straight through plate glass windows. Even the shards slicing through them made no difference. They just kept coming. My barricade wasn't going to hold. I rushed around my flat, grabbing supplies and jamming them into the most secure room of the flat. I went back for one last look across the street, and I wish I hadn't. In a second-story window, my face met one of theirs. They knew where I was. I quickly dashed into the room and locked the door. I don't have any kind of panic room or a secure basement, so the safest place I could think of was my bathroom. No windows, one door with a lock. I had filled my sink and bathtub full of water so I could stay for a while. So I sat there, in the dark room, with the distant screams in my ears. I began to feel like I may have overreacted. It had been 2 hours and no sign of them. It actually got quieter, and I thought they had moved on. Maybe I could leave the room, get to the kitchen, grab more food to wait it out. A crash came from the front door. The sound of someone running full force into the door and knocking down the barrier behind it. There were a couple more crashes before I knew they were inside. Rapid footsteps moving around the flat, a couple screams, and then a bang on the wall beside me. My eyes were open to their widest, even in the pitch-black darkness of the room. Another bang, and another. They knew I was there, and they knew I was scared. This was the zombie nightmare I had been expecting from the start. I had nowhere to run. There was only so much time before they would break in. I sat with my back to the door, hoping my extra weight would make it harder for them to get in. And then it got worse. "Why don't you open the door?" A voice on the opposite side of the door. No screams or moans, just a quiet, whispery voice. And then more of them. "We've come for you. You'll be happier if you open the door. It's not so bad." The whispery voices became a cacophony of noise trying to persuade me, to break me, to fool me. I had heard that the moaning of zombies would drive people insane, but this was worse, a siren call. I sat in the darkness and hoped and prayed that they'd get bored. But they don't get bored, and they don't leave. I managed to use the mirror to peek under the door, only to be greeted by horrible, unblinking eyes, blood-smeared faces, screams, and more horrible whispers. That was 2 days ago. I don't know what to do anymore. Maybe it won't be so bad. The end.
First of all, that was so scary. I
thought you'd like that
hated that.
See, I know my audience.
Like, zombie stuff, scary. Like, speaking of, I'm struggling to watch Train to Busan, or whatever it's called.
Great film.
It's a zombie movie. I've been trying to watch it for a week, because it's so scary, and I can only watch it before bed, because I don't have time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am having nightmares. That is like something from a nightmare that I've had. Stuck in a room, no escape, surrounded by zombies.
Yeah.
Like, no. And you are such a good actor, by the way. I was like on the edge of my seat.
Thank you very much. You know what it reminded me of?
What?
That movie 28 Days Later.
Oh, okay.
Where the zombies are fucking running.
Okay. I think we've probably gone off on that spiel. No. Running zombies? God bless you. Running zombies are a no from me. if they're like walking and stupid, I'm totally fine to be in a zombie apocalypse. But if they can run or jump or think, no, I'm dead.
Here's my thing.
That's scary.
First of all, I watched that film on a date. The guy I was dating was like, yeah, it's my favorite movie. That should have been red flag number 1. Second of all, I will never understand people who are like, yeah, I could survive a zombie apocalypse. Why would you want to?
There's nothing.
What is the point?
Right? There's like
Repopulate
no
the world?
quality of life.
No, you're constantly on edge. Everyone you love is dead. Like,
no food, dirty water.
Yeah.
You'll never get a change of clothes.
No.
Like, just
you're
die.
never gonna get laid again.
And if you do, you might just get caught by a group of zombies and die.
Imagine having to give birth during a zombie. Like, raising a toddler is hard enough as is, let alone when you're like, no, honey, don't touch the rotting man.
Nah, throw the child out the window.
Just fucking
Like-
throw yourself out the window. Save yourself some time.
Like, I was like squealing when you were saying that. That gets a full 8 out of 8 candy corns.
Yes.
That was scary.
Yes.
Hey, you didn't rate mine. What was the portrait
Yes, I
one?
did. I gave it a -6 because I was
Oh,
so uncomfortable. So I give that, like, realistically, 7.5.
I was gonna say, oh, that's not great.
No, I loved it. I give it a 7.5 out of 8 candy corns.
That was my favorite story, I think. I hated it, and I'm gonna need to watch something so that I don't have nightmares tonight. But
As long as you're not watching Train to Busan.
it's literally sitting here on my tabs. It's on Tubby or Tubi.
Tubi, yes.
I leave the tab open, but I'm like, I'm not gonna go back to that
I'll
right now.
watch it eventually.
Yeah, at some point in the next couple days, I'll finish it. I was just gonna say the actor is hot in it, but anyway.
Is it Tom Hiddleston?
No, but you are correct. Loki.
So, I watched Crimson Peak the other day. Wow.
What is that about?
It's a horror film.
Oh,
It's,
well, now I have to look
first
it
of
up.
all, Tom Hiddleston aside, it's a fantastic movie. Jessica Chastain's in it. The girl who played, I don't know her name, the girl who played Alice in Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Oh, that does look creepy.
It's very well done. Tom Hiddleston really, really got me in that one. There's a great shot of his butt during a sex scene, and I was like, oh God, okay.
Oh, this looks weird. It looks like Victorian.
Yeah, this will be my last comment about Tom Hiddleston, I promise. There's a part where he's like trying to convince the main character to like go to this ball with him or whatever. And in this like low, raspy, like British voice, he was like, "You wouldn't make me go all alone." And I was like, "Ooh, oh my God, okay."
Caitlin's down bad for Tom Hiddleston.
It got real bad real fast. And I'm not sorry about it, so.
No comment.
Anyway.
Actually, yes, comment. Just, I agree. I'll say that. What movie was he in that I saw that I was like, wait, he's hot?
Right?
It was that remake of, like, Kong. Skull Island.
Mm-hmm. He was in that movie?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it.
I mean, it's an alright film, but he looks really good in it.
That's the thing about Tom Hiddleston, is you're like, no, he's a really good actor. He's a good person. But I don't know. And then you watch one scene and you're like, wow.
He's fine. Yeah, so you should watch it just because he looks nice. And I think he's the love interest. I think that's why.
Oh, incredible.
You're like, so I know what I'm doing after
Like,
this.
yeah. Can we wrap this up?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Alright, so my final one is another super short one.
Mm-hmm.
I found it from T. Batwork.
Love that.
And it's just called Father, I Had a Bad Dream.
Oh. Thanks. I already hate it.
So I'm going to do a couple of pauses to let the information sink in.
Mm-hmm. Pause for dramatic
So when you
effect.
think it's over,
okay.
It's not over. I'll
Okay.
tell you when it's over.
Okay.
Okay, and this is told from the father's perspective.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. All right. You take a sip of vodka and roll over.
Done.
Same. You stare at the clock tower on, I'm going to butcher it, Sobornya Square, and it's 3:23 a.m. Go back to sleep. There is work tomorrow. No, father. This is the daughter speaking. The familiar buzz of vodka starts to sink in, making you feel warm. You barely make out your daughter's pale form in the darkness. Why is that, Devochka Moya? Question mark. This is the daughter again. Because in my dream, when I was about to go back to sleep, the thing wearing mom's skin sat up. You pause, and you face your daughter and look at her intensely. The figure behind you begins to stir. Don't talk that way about your brother. It's not his fault we have no money for coats. Such is life in Moscow. Now it's done.
Oh, hold on.
Couple of turns.
In the words of John Mulaney, we don't have time to unpack all of that.
Right?
I give that a 7.5. 7.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yes.
But I read the Americanized version of it first, and it just ended with you pause and look at your daughter, and you feel the figure behind you sit up. And then I scrolled down and seen this Russian version where they added the part with "Don't talk about your brother," and I'm like,
that's my favorite thing. Is that she's like, Dad, the thing again. He's like, that's your
Sergey. Brother wearing your dead mother's skin. Don't talk trash. And I just thought that was so freaky because there's like 3 different plot twists in it.
There's a lot to process.
Like when I read it, I had to be like, wait. Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
Oh. Yeah, I'm like, hold on.
I was hooked from the vodka.
Mm-hmm. It's called alcoholism, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna move on.
Okay.
That one makes me feel weird because, like, it's also kind of a thing that, like, obviously it wouldn't happen, but, like, it could.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen The Revenant.
Like, it's not a ghost story, so...
No. And Russia is fucking terrifying.
And cold.
Yes. So...
do what you gotta do, I guess. Just don't murder people. Yeah. And that's all I have.
Well, I have exhausted my theatrical abilities for the night. I felt good about the stories, though.
Your performances were beautiful.
Thank you. If you would like to tip me, my PayPal...
No. But if anyone else wants to tip you,
yeah.
leave your link of your PayPal in the bio. Put mine in there too, by the way.
Absolutely.
I need money.
No, I really enjoyed doing this episode. I think it was fun to just kind of be a little more chill. Like, not a lot of research was involved.
Yeah.
But it was still something that was intense.
Mm-hmm.
I liked
Halloween special.
Yeah, I liked getting your reaction to the zombie one.
I muted myself a couple times. I was like freaking out, but I didn't want to interrupt your flow, so you were being like blah 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 blah, and I muted myself, and you'll hear it when you go to edit. You'll hear me going
I just like the zombies. Oh, zombies. Well, from us here at Creeps and Coffee, we are happy to have you on this lovely Halloween night. We hope you
Yeah.
are having some spooky fun, but not too much spook and not too much fun. There's still COVID, people.
Yep.
No. I have loved.
Go to an escape room, eat candy. If you
Come-
do drugs, do them safely.
Exactly.
And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Creeps and Coffee is produced and edited by us, Kate and Jane.
Our theme music is Stuck in a Hole by Dated.
For more information on where to find them, check out the link in our show notes. And to connect with us, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Creeps and Coffee.